Welcome to Your Financial Pathways. I'm Dan Youngs with HFG Financial Group. Our show discusses your financial matters. Today, we're going to talk about estate planning, a topic that probably most of you have heard of, but many of you may not really know a lot about. Joining me today is attorney Trudy Ludeking, and we're going to have a fun conversation. Trudy, the word estate planning, a lot of us have heard of it. Some of us may know about it. Others say, that's nothing but something that rich people have to deal with. What is estate planning?
Estate planning entails taking care of your financial matters during your lifetime and during the time that you're not able to or when you pass on. Estate planning involves financial issues that you need to plan is to take care of your children, take care of yourself during your lifetime, take care of whoever you need to take care of, to give away. There's many things involved in estate planning. It's not just for those that have multi-million dollars that need to do all this planning. It's for all of us, so things that will move smoothly. Estate planning involves passing things to your heirs after you're gone, and you want things to move very smoothly for everyone once you're gone, so that things can just transition and not skip a beat.
You said something earlier in your statement there that estate planning may not necessarily be just about death. I think many people think estate planning is when I'm dead. You're saying not the case.
Absolutely not. It involves meeting with a financial planner such as yourself, an attorney, and taking a look at everything that you own, things that you owe, any debt that you may have, any pension plans that you may have coming, and things that you're going to acquire for your future. And you need to start early in that estate planning so that everything works the way you hope it will work.
So you're saying actually then, if I'm young and I'm disabled, I still need to have had an estate plan.
Oh, absolutely. And it really probably starts with your parents, and it gets handed down generation after generation. Even if you don't have children, you still need to make a plan where your things are going to go that you acquire during your lifetime to a charity or maybe nieces and nephews. You have to think about those things during your lifetime and when you're mentally capable of making those decisions.
When we talk about estate planning, there are a number of documents that kind of come to people's mind. One of them is a will, which is probably a very common term, but there are a number of other things too, a number of other documents that people should look at.
Oh, absolutely. A will, of course, is a document that speaks at your death, and there are trusts that you can prepare, have an attorney prepare. There are financial plans for your children's education, that there are defined education plans set up now. There's life insurance, there's powers of attorney documents. There's many things that you need to look at when you're young.
Let's kind of discuss those a little bit. This is not a show that's going to get into great detail on them, but to prompt you to call an attorney, call our office, and we can talk about this in more detail. But a will, what is a will?
A will is a document prepared by an attorney. There are laws in the state of Michigan that a will has to meet specific requirements in order to be valid. So you want to make sure you get some advice from legal advisors. And it's a document that speaks at your death. It says who's going to take care of your final bills and make those payments, who's going to distribute your assets to whoever you designate. You designate who's to get your things. You designate who's to take care of you, who's to take care of your minor children, if you have disabled children or disabled spouse. It makes all those decisions in a document. It can delay distribution till if you have children that might have social issues such as gambling or drugs, and you can define that in your will because you know their life, you know them as they've grown up, and you see their habits, and so you can make a delayed distribution in a will as well. It doesn't necessarily happen immediately upon your death, but this document can define all of that.
A trust, another term that we hear quite a bit. I think in the past number of years, the word trust and estate planning have become much more prevalent. What is a trust?
A trust is a document. It's a contract that you make with yourself as an individual, with yourself as a trustee of the trust. You describe in this document how you want things to be distributed, who they'll be distributed to, when they'll be distributed, The document is usually a great lengthy document. There are a lot of IRS requirements that need to be in there. There are also a lot of Michigan law requirements that need to be in this document, but it's a contract that you make to provide for yourself during your lifetime, even who will take care of you and how much you will receive during your lifetime, or what your spouse will get during her or his lifetime, and your children after you're gone, or even during their lifetime if you like.
So a will really deals with after I'm dead, but a trust can deal with before and after?
Absolutely, and there are several different kinds of trusts. There are revocable trusts, things that you can change and amend. As your life changes, things change in your life and people change in your life, so you can amend a revocable trust. There are irrevocable trusts that you set up that can't be changed very easily. There are education trusts, there are life insurance trusts, there are several different kinds of trusts depending on your life situation.
You need a good attorney to sort that one out for you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Another document that comes up, a power of attorney.
That is a document that you prepare during your lifetime to give someone the power to make decisions on your behalf. There are several different kinds of those too. There are powers of attorney that speak on your behalf during your lifetime, whether you're mentally competent or not mentally competent. It depends on how you want that to be. It's a very powerful document, but you give someone the power to make decisions exactly as if you would make those.
So we have a will that deals with you after you've passed away, a trust that deals with while you're living and dead, but a power of attorney is only good until you die, right?
That's correct. You have to cease using that document once the person dies that gave you that power.
Okay. A medical power of attorney.
This is another document that you want to make, again, while you're competent. All these documents, it's important to make at a young age so that you're mentally competent. And of course, you always want to check with your financial advisor or your attorney to make sure they're updated with current laws and whatnot. But a medical document, you appoint a patient advocate to make medical decisions on your behalf. And now with the new HIPAA laws that we have, the Privacy Act, you want to make sure that you waive that right so that the person you appoint has the right to speak with your medical advisors. And this document, again, will only speak when you're not capable of making medical decisions on your own behalf.
Okay. Stay tuned. In our next segment, we're going to talk about joint ownership, when to use it and when not to.
With so many questions, isn't it nice to know you can go to one place for the answers? HFG Financial Group has over 40 years combined experience helping singles and families in Southwest Michigan plan their financial future. Whether you're growing, graduating, chasing a lifelong dream, or retiring, stop by our office in Kalamazoo and meet one of our financial advisors today for a free consultation. We can help make you feel confident in your investments. HFG Financial Group, your beacon to a bright future.
Welcome back to Your Financial Pathways. I'm Dan Youngs with HFG Financial Group. Here today with me is attorney Trudy Ludeking. We've been discussing estate planning. Particularly right now, we're talking about joint ownership. Trudy, when we left off, you said joint ownership wasn't really estate planning. Can you give me a little more detail on that?
It truly isn't. There's a bit of a misconception, I think, in several areas that people think if I add my children's name to my home on the deed, or if I put my children on my bank account, then I don't have to do a will. I don't have to do any of the estate planning, and there's several issues with that. And it's important that you speak with number one, a financial advisor and an attorney, because there could be some liability issues, and you could be giving things away that you really didn't intend to give away. And there are areas and times when it might be important to do that, but most of the time, I don't recommend it.
Let's talk about it a little bit more detail. My wife and I, is that okay?
Absolutely. You know, obviously, if you trust one another, that's very important too. Trust is always a big factor in any estate planning. Having two people on a bank account, such as your wife, and one of you passes away, it does avoid that bank account having to go to probate, which is an issue that we hadn't talked about earlier, but probate is in Michigan, every state has their own probate laws, but in Michigan it's the court becomes involved, the probate court in particular, because that asset, the bank account, cannot pass to your children or whoever without the court getting involved. And therefore you do normally need to hire an attorney to probate an estate of an asset like a home or a bank account or an investment account that's titled only in one person's name. So there are advantages. It's when the second person passes away that your estate plan should be very detailed.
So a will really is probate.
A will could have, if you do a will, there's another misconception that by doing a will, I don't need to have to probate my estate, and that is not necessarily true. Again, if there are assets in your will that say, I want Dan to have my bank account, all the money in my bank account, and I want my son to have my investment accounts. Well, in order to do that, just because the will directs where the assets are going, you need an official legal appointment by someone who can make those actual distributions, and therefore you do need the probate court. So the fear of probate court, which you've heard so much about, really isn't there. Probate court is a necessity many, many times, especially if there's squabbling going on among the children or family members or someone wants to contest it. You want the direction of a probate court.
So if I were to have my daughter on my checking account, something happens to me, it's not going to go through probate?
That is correct.
And
but
possibly my other children wouldn't get those monies?
Absolutely. If just your daughter's name is on there and you've got lots of money in there, she's going to say, goodbye, brothers and sisters. I'm off to the Bahamas with mom and dad's money because it really legally is mine.
So if she's on my house, the same thing?
Absolutely.
Deeded on my house?
Absolutely.
Same thing could happen? If she were to pass away before me?
And if she's married and has a husband, you could become an owner with her husband or an owner with her children. It just depends on where they are in life. It also becomes a bit of a liability. If you've got teenagers in college and you put them on your bank account and they start draining your bank account or they get into lots of debt, your money in your bank account could be subject to their creditors.
How does a trust work into this?
If you have a trust set up, which is a contract that you've made with yourself regarding your assets, you can title your bank accounts and your home and your vacation properties all in the trust. That then avoids probate, which we just discussed, and it directs who's to get that asset after you're gone and who's to manage it during your lifetime if you're not able to, or manage it after you're gone.
So if I have a trust set up and my home is in that trust, I pass away, whoever I've instructed to handle that would then divide that as I so indicated, without going to probate?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
that's a nice thing about setting up a trust estate. It does avoid probate, and it also keeps your assets and your wishes totally private. Someone who prepares a will and puts it, they put all their assets however they choose to title them, and it has to go to probate, that becomes public record, and anyone can see what you have and how you're going to distribute it.
So there are really times that probate is a good thing.
Absolutely.
And there are other times where you may not want it, but the only way you're going to avoid that is through the use of a trust or
Yes.
joint ownership.
That is the only
and
way that I'm aware.
maybe the beneficial, or maybe the joint ownership isn't the way to go.
Well, there is one other way that we haven't really talked about, and that would be you could gift certain assets during your lifetime. You can make gifts, and there's where it's very important to talk with a financial planner and a CPA because they know the tax laws regarding gifting, because there are maximum numbers that you can give away during a lifetime, amounts that you can give away. You have to be careful, like if you're giving away real estate during your lifetime, you have to watch capital gains. So there are a number of tax issues that you want to be very careful about, but you want to take advantage of gifting if possible, and there are times when you don't want to gift. So that's another way of estate planning, is through gifting.
There's a lot to this. I can see that, and I think it's really important for our audience to understand that you need to consult with professionals when you're looking at your estate plan, whether you're living or whether you're planning when you're not going to be around.
That's very true, and there are so many things going on in your life. If you have a privately owned business, I mean, you want to plan for the succession of that business, and if it's going to be sold, or if your children are working there and they want to take it over, and maybe one of the children wants it and one of them doesn't. So there's a lot of planning if you have a privately held business too.
Trudy, I'm going to switch gears on you here a little bit. Our time is running low. Funeral planning.
You can say in generalities, I'd like to be cremated, or I'd like to have a headstone, or I'd like to be buried here. You know, in generalities, I don't normally recommend that you put that in a will, and the reason for that is by the time someone digs out the will to read it, you know, your spouse has buried you someplace that you didn't want to be, or your children have buried you. It's important that that's a separate document, and that you share that document in your wishes with your family before you pass, and don't tuck it away in a safe deposit box where they're going to find it 2 weeks after you're gone.
And something you may think about is even prepaying for your funeral.
That is true. There are several things like that. You know, prepaying for your funeral arrangements, even long-term health care, insurance, life insurance. There's so many things when it comes to estate planning that we didn't even touch on.
Yeah. Well, special thanks again to Trudy. This has been great. I've learned a lot. I hope you have too.
Thank you, Dan. I've enjoyed spending time with you. I'd like nothing more than to work more with your clients or our clients together, and it's important that people be aware of what they need to do.
Very good. Stay tuned. In our next segment, I will continue my conversation with Tony Wroblewski, best-selling author, motivational speaker, personal business coach. We'll see you then.
With so many questions, isn't it nice to know you can go to one place for the answers? HFG Financial Group has over 40 years combined experience helping singles and families in Southwest Michigan plan their financial future. Whether you're growing, graduating, chasing a lifelong dream, or retiring, stop by our office in Kalamazoo and meet one of our financial advisors today for a free consultation. We can help make you feel confident in your investments. HFG Financial Group, your beacon to a bright future.
Welcome back. I'm here with best-selling author Tony Wroblewski with his latest book, Mind Capture. Thank you, Tony. We've been talking about small business and nonprofit marketing. We're talking about positive, exciting things, not the negative news. Tony, you just talked about how negative news in media can impact our psyche. And what can we do? How can we use the media from a positive standpoint? What can we do in this world that we live in with the Facebook, internets, email?
Well, that's a great question. A couple things come to mind. First off is a lot of the newsrooms, be it print publications, television, internet, they're looking for good news stories. The challenge is a lot of businesses say, well, I don't know what to write about. So I want to give everyone that's watching a few ideas. When you land a new account, a major customer, if you expand your business, you're in hiring, if you've got certification, you know, some of your key people go to a seminar, they graduate from university. The media is always looking for good news. A lot of times the challenge is people don't know what to write about, or they think, well, I don't know how to get it out there. So that's the first idea. Secondly, I talk about in some of my earlier works, the power of the cause. I did an entire chapter on this, and it's called Cause Marketing. It's a very great strategy. It's a win-win, and basically what it is you find a nonprofit that you really believe in, that you're active in, that just you're passionate, and you say, look, how do we join forces to help each other? So it's a win-win, which I already like that, very positive. And you say, all right, you have this list of donors and volunteers. What can we do to get your nonprofit more in the limelight to promote it, to help the, serve more people, or if it's the Humane Society, more animals, get more donors? And you say, all right, let's join forces. We'll promote it to people that we work with, know, like, and trust. You promote what we do down to your list, and you make it in a way where, number one, the goal is to promote the nonprofit. But secondarily, what usually happens is, do you think that the business gets mentioned?
Of course.
Absolutely. So it's a great form of giving back first, and there are just a few nonprofits in this town. There are tons of them. And if you approach them, they're looking for companies to partner with and get very unique about what we call cause marketing. Let me give you a great case study. I call Spring Lake, Michigan home. And there was an article about a year and a half ago in our local newspaper, the Grand Haven Tribune. And on the front page, it had a picture of our local canine unit with a bunch of realtors from RE/MAX. And it said in the article, local RE/MAX office donates canine dog to canine unit for the sheriff's department. Now, Dan, those dogs are about $8,000 to $10,000 for the training, beautiful German Shepherd. And as I read underneath the article, it started to say that there was one condition that the canine unit could accept the dog. The dog's name was RE/MAX. And I thought that was brilliant. Now, there's more to the story, as the late, great Paul Harvey would say. Here's the rest of the story. The next 2 weeks, I kid you not, in letters to the editor in the same newspaper, there was a wide range of reaction, from absolutely great of RE/MAX to do that. That's a needed service to the community. They donated, $9,000 for the dog, something along that ballpark. It was $8,600. And then next couple days, you saw other people saying that's shameless marketing. I can't believe RE/MAX office did that. That's just, pure salesmanship. And I sat there reading the newspaper going, brilliant marketing, okay? Now, I bet the people that wrote the anti-letters were maybe the other real estate offices in the region that didn't think of it themselves. And yes, you have people that are very anti-commercialism, but at some point you have to understand there's no free lunch. I don't usually talk about this, but I will with your audience. People sponsor things because they want to get their name out there. That doesn't change. What I thought was very good about RE/MAX is they had no idea it would get that much mileage, but do you think that they minded some of the negative press? No. Probably not. So what had ended up happening is their competition actually fueled their own promotion by complaining about it. Now, if I'm at a competing real estate office, I think, how can we trump them? What nonprofit could we partner with as a cause and do something that's maybe a little even funner and also get us in the newspaper as well? So I want people to think, if you're involved with a nonprofit, what great idea do you have that maybe some business owners that you do work with that you can go and say, hey, here's an idea, or vice versa. Businesses, hey, we support the youth soccer league or the youth hockey teams. What can we do to do something that's very newsworthy, but we also ride along with our name as well? So that's very guerrilla marketing, as Jay Conrad Levinson would say, but it's something that most businesses just completely miss.
You've given us some really neat specific. Let's go a little deeper there. I know you're a big referral guy. You love referrals. Mm-hmm. You love the idea of what referrals do for us as small business owners.
Correct.
Talk to us a little bit about that, would you?
Well, it's interesting because through the U.S. Chamber, I teach a variety of topics on marketing. And a lot of times I'll teach about relationships and retention marketing. I also talk about social media. Now, we have a wide range of people that are viewing this television program, and you might have someone that's 18 years old that says, well, that relationship stuff is old school. It's all instant messaging and Facebook and Twitter and even email. You ask a lot of the young kids, they'll say, well, email's like so blasé. It's not even relevant anymore. But you go back to something that will never change. And this is what I challenge when I talk to high school and college students is, at the end of the day, business is done eyeball to eyeball. The technology changes to get you to that face-to-face meeting, which is getting harder and harder to get. But at some point, you're going to have to, if you're interviewing for your first job right now and you're a college student watching, you're going to have to sit in front of someone and market to them. You can't Skype them in. Maybe if it's an overseas opportunity, that's very, very rare. You can't instant message your resume. You're going to have to sit down and communicate human to human. Why I love referrals is simply this. Dollar for dollar, word of mouth marketing is the most effective way to market any organization, business, religion, anything on the planet Earth. And a lot of people miss this because there's a few reasons I want to share with your audience here. They don't know how to ask for referrals. They think, well, if I do a good job, my customers are just going to offer up everybody they know. Think of how busy our daily life is. And this is something we didn't talk about in one of our earlier segments, but the North American of today, and this is based on my research in my books, is hit with 3,000 to 4,000 messages per day of an advertising nature. So every time you turn your phone on, you've got messages, you turn your computer on, you've got pop-up ads, your email, you've got junk mail and spam, you turn on television, there's ads everywhere. So when you come back to it at the end of the day, most people don't realize that you're going to have to proactively ask for people to introduce themselves and people they know called referrals. I'll give you a couple specifics. Let's say that you're watching this show and you own an ad agency here in the region. And one of your car dealership clients calls you and thanks you for a job well done. What most people would do in this example, let's say it's a telephone call, is the advertising rep would thank the car dealership for the phone call in their business. They'd hang the phone up. Now, it may hit them 5, 10, 15 minutes later that, wait a minute, I wonder if my client, the car dealership here, knows other people just like him. But they missed their chance to ask for the referral. Wouldn't it have been different if when the client called them, the car dealership, they said, hey, Appreciate that you call. I'm glad we could do a good job for you. Have a question while I have you on the phone. Let's say the client's name is Mike. Mike, I'm very curious. Who are a couple of other car dealerships that you might introduce me to that maybe we could do the same thing for? Now, Dan, you don't think they're going to give their direct competitors to the ad agency, but people network in same industries and same groups. It wouldn't be uncommon for Mike to know 2 or 3 other auto dealerships, would it?
No.
Mike might know 3 or 4 friends of his that own a Ford dealership, maybe a Toyota dealership, and your goal is, unless you ask, you don't know what's going to happen, but he might say, you know what, it's funny you should ask. Here's 2 people I know, Sally Smith and Mike Kazmowski, for example. And if you're watching, that's just a pure accident that I named you. But those 2 people are called referrals. That wasn't an accident. You had the guts to ask. And secondly, you got very specific because you know the clients in the automotive business. So really to recap the point about referrals is you have to have a strategy. You have to be very specific. And bottom line, you have to ask for them. They don't just magically show up.
Yeah. You know, Tony, when I open my email box, and I still use email, so
Old school.
Old school. I
So
know. I'm deluged with hundreds a day,
Yeah.
and I will say to people there are really very efficient forms of communication and very effective forms of communication. Efficient is email or Facebook, but how effective is that? Of those 100 of emails that I receive each day, I don't get through very many of them.
Yeah.
The effective form of communication are people that I've connected with,
Correct.
who I have a relationship, as I say, who've earned the right to use efficient communication with me. So when we talk about connecting with people, and I think it dovetails in very nicely to referrals, what are some thoughts you might have on connecting with people? Some tips that you could give small business and nonprofits for doing that?
That's a very, very good question. And a couple of things come to mind immediately. First and foremost is find out how they like to be communicated with. Some people say, look, I don't ever check my voicemail messages. I prefer that you maybe instant message me if it's something urgent. Some people are only email. Some people you'll find are very much dialed into Facebook. Some use LinkedIn messages more. The challenge in the 21st century is we want everything on our own terms. We're spoiled. In the age of Google, I talk about how Google-licious are you? That's a search question. If I go to try to find Dan Youngs and I type in Kalamazoo, Michigan, do you show up? Or do I go, where is he? What's happening in this age of opt-in and all this overload communication? People are saying, what's your digital footprint? And before they may call you or I, they may get a name and scribble it down from someone that maybe talked about you positively or me. They'll go on Google or Yahoo and they'll find your digital footprint first. If they like what they see, they may engage you, and they may do it via email. They may call your office. But everyone has different modalities of communication. A big advocate, you have to ask first how your client or a prospect likes to be communicated to. Some people say, mail me something. Yes, I'm going to go on the record, direct mail is still a relevant tool. A lot of my top clients...
That's really old school, Tony.
Absolutely, and but I look at what works. And a lot of my top clients are using more and more direct mail. It's different because the cost of postage keeps increasing. However, if you get more precise, there's a segment, typically demographically over 50, that still looks at direct mail. And it's the same challenge I have with lots of nonprofits say, well, we got rid of all our direct mail to save money. Okay, well, what's your average donor, age-wise? They're 54. Well, you're probably losing some of your donors because they don't look at your email. Think of all the things you opt into. I want everyone that's watching, you get all these email newsletters you opt in for. Maybe you get Google alerts. Do you check them all every day? No, you let them stack up. If you're like me and like a lot of people out there, you let them all build up and you go, I thought I was going to read that email newsletter, and you delete them like in big chunks. And you may catch one every 4 or 5 weeks. So again, you go back to the follow-up issue. Know how they want to be communicated with, and also vary it up a little bit. Again, I said earlier in one of our earlier segments, if you're predictable in your marketing, that's deadly. Not like actually you're going to die, but from the attention standpoint to capture people, people are busy. You look at all the message counts of 3,000 to 4,000 per day. Not only that, most psychologists, I learned this through my first 3 books of research and writing them, we have about 50,000 plus self-talk conversations per day in our own head. By the time you wake up in the morning to the time you hit the pillow at night, it's busy up there. Then you got all this distraction, you got BlackBerry, cell phones. We are inundated with data and stimulation. So, you think of all the conversations you have, and I hope it's the same voice. I'm not that mind capture guy. But what I'm trying to drive at from that's watching is it's a crowded freeway to get anyone to pay attention anymore. So you have to do your best, and it's not perfect, to find out how you can drop in and capture people, how they like to be communicated with. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
A special thanks again to Tony Wroblewski for his thoughts on business planning and building. Stay tuned for continuing my conversation with Tony, as well as covering other financial matters that are concerned to you, such as how to pay for college. Join us next time on Your Financial Pathways. Welcome to this episode of Your Financial Pathways. I'm Dan Youngs with HFG Financial Group, and we're here today to talk about how to pay for college. I have with me a financial planner from HFG Advisors, John Kuiper. John has been with the firm for a number of years, and John and I are both very experienced in this topic, and maybe more so than we want to be. John's two kids that are done, I call them kids, young men, and I have three of them in college right now. So it's an interesting topic. John, what are some things? I mean, you and I are kind of on the backside of this, but what are some things some younger families can do? I know we've got Coverdale IRAs.
I mean, that's one of the first things you could do, a Coverdale IRA. A little bit different than an IRA for work. The Coverdale IRA is intended to save for college, and you can put up to $2,000 a year inside that IRA and start saving for your son, for your daughter, for your kids for college.
Yeah, some of the benefits of using a Coverdale IRA is that it grows tax-free if the money is used for college education. So if I invest $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 and it should grow, that profit that I take out, I don't have to pay tax on that as long as I use that to pay for higher education.
That's correct. Yep.
That's a federal program through the IRS. Michigan has a program too.
Michigan has their own program unique to the state of Michigan called MESP, and you can invest in that towards your child's education. One of the unique things about that plan is that a family in Michigan can get up to $10,000 in an annual tax deduction on your taxes.
And really, Michigan has two plans. There's the one that's sponsored directly to the state, and then there's a plan that you can get from financial advisors.
Yeah.
It's a state-sponsored plan, though. So each state really has their own plans, and it's important to take a look at that because if you go with, for example, an Indiana state plan and you're a Michigan resident, you're not going to get the deduction there. That's why it may be good to make sure that you look at the state that you're living in, which, of course, in our case is Michigan. And then when you go to take the money out, it also comes out tax-free. So I can put up to $10,000 a year away for my kids' education, get a deduction from my state income tax, and take the money out tax-free.
Yep. A second option for families to consider is a 529 plan. Most people are familiar with a 401k, and that's intended for retirement, but the 529 plan is designed specifically to save for college. And it's kind of a unique plan that's out there. You can contribute up to $13,000 per year towards your child's education. And in some instances, you can actually front load that with 5 years worth of contributions. And so you could put up to $65,000 in a 529 plan. Another interesting thing about a 529 plan, you could have a grandparent start a plan for their grandchildren, and they could contribute towards their education. And then the unique thing about the 529 plan is all the money in there grows tax-free. And then, as we've already talked about, when you take the money out to pay for college education, it comes out tax-free.
529 plans are sponsored by local states. So Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Texas have their own plans. Michigan allows residents to deduct up to $10,000 for contributions to a Michigan 529 plan. It won't allow you to deduct it if it's a Texas 529 plan. The money that does come out of them too, and I think this is a confusion, you don't have to go to a Michigan college to use that money.
You can go anywhere.
Anywhere you want, that's right.
Another unique feature of the 529 plan is you could set up a plan for your son in his name. You're the owner, your son's the beneficiary, but if your son decides not to go to college, you can use it for your daughter, you can use it for someone else, you could use it for a niece and nephew. You're able to transfer that money that you've set aside to someone who wants it and needs it. So there's a lot of freedom and flexibility inside the 529 plan.
You can even use it for yourself.
You can use it for yourself.
If you want to go to...
And a moment ago you talked about it doesn't have to be for Michigan schools. It can be for trade schools as well as college or university. So there's a lot of flexibility within a 529 plan.
And it covers room and board as well?
It does.
Pretty much anything related to
the cost of college.
You
You can use the 529 plan to pay for the tuition. You can use it for room and board, and then you can also use it to pay for their textbooks. So it covers pretty much most of the cost of a son or daughter going to college.
And you can go to public college, private college, in-state, out-of-state, so you're not limited there.
Correct. So we've talked about a couple of ideas that are available for parents to save for their kids for college. And we just need to make it clear that these are invested and can be invested for growth.
And you can do them for as little as $25 a month. Some of the numbers you were throwing out a little bit earlier maybe make people think that it's for lots of money, but it's not.
$25, $50 a month, they can start saving today.
And if you have a baby that you start saving $25 a month for, and you use a 529, things change, you can change. You're not locked in. You have flexibility. In our next segment, we're going to be talking about, I have a junior or senior in high school. What are some things that we should be thinking about in doing there? Join us after the break.
With so many questions, isn't it nice to know you can go to one place for the answers? HFG Financial Group has over 40 years combined experience helping singles and families in Southwest Michigan plan their financial future. Whether you're growing, graduating, chasing a lifelong dream, or retiring, stop by our office in Kalamazoo and meet one of our financial advisors today for a free consultation. We can help make you feel confident in your investments. HFG Financial Group, your beacon to a bright future.
Welcome back to Your Financial Pathways. I'm Dan Youngs with HFG Financial Group. With me today is John Kuiper, an advisor with our firm. John and I have been discussing how to pay for college. In our first segment, we talked about saving when your kids were young. Well, now we're going to talk about what if I'm a couple of years away and I haven't saved enough or saved any. First, all I want you to do is maybe grab those high school age kids and have them come in. It'll just be a few minutes and we're going to maybe give them some ideas. John, as I said in the first episode, you and I have kind of been through it. I'm right in the middle of it.
Yep. I'm past it. I had two boys and they both graduated from college, so 8 years of doing what we're talking about. But if they're a couple years away from college, they ought to, the first thing is make sure they're scheduled for the ACT or the SAT tests, which are required for admission. They probably want to get an eye or a bead on what college or colleges am I interested in.
And you come up to that point, you don't have to go to that high-end expensive school the first year.
No.
And I'm not promoting any schools here, but we live in a community with a great community college. And it's amazing how inexpensive it is to go there and get those prerequisites out of the way. Your kids went away to school.
Away to
Mine, actually,
college.
I'm split. I have a son who's at Kalamazoo Valley. I have two daughters that are away at another school, just the decision and choices that we made.
Yeah. I think one of the things that parents and teens should consider is, do I know what I want to do? And if you're not sure, then I think the Kalamazoo Valley and the community college is the way to go. Go the first 2 years. Get your prerequisites out of the way, and you'll save money for your college experience.
Yeah, a lot. The other thing that you really have to consider, and kids, this goes right to you, scholarship money. And it really comes down to grades and your SAT, ACT scores. Grades, grades, grades. It makes so much difference. And most of these schools combine your grades, they give you a point for that, points for that, and your ACT, SAT, they give you points for that, and they combine those two together. Pre-studying for the SAT. Don't just go show up there, prepare for it.
Take a class.
Literally thousands of dollars in scholarship, and I know this personally. Thousands of dollars in scholarship, the difference between just a couple of points on that.
Well, we've been talking about what the student needs to do. Maybe we should take a turn here and go for what the parents need to do. And something you're familiar with, and I'm very familiar, is the FAFSA, free application for federal student aid. Every parent has to do it each year their son or daughter is in college.
I know, I've done a lot of them, but you get things from that.
Yep.
That's where your grants come from.
That don't need to be repaid.
That's correct. Scholarship money.
Doesn't need to be repaid.
It also helps you with loans, student loans, both subsidized and unsubsidized.
Yep.
It decides on how much of those you can actually get.
And sometimes it makes sense for the student to get those loans and make that their responsibility for going to school and saying, hey, this is your share of the load. You can get a loan in the parent's name as well.
The FAFSA also helps you with work-study programs. That's actually where a child will go and have a job on campus that will help contribute to that college. Right? There's a lot that comes out of that. What do you think about student loans?
I don't want my son to be saddled with heavy loans, but both of my sons paid for a portion of their schooling with student loans, and they knew that was their responsibility. And so that's what they're doing now, paying back that. I don't think they were overburdened. And so I think it's one piece of the college puzzle.
And it shouldn't be the whole piece.
No.
I see so many kids come out with just burdened with debt, where using some of the ideas, the local community college for a couple of years can literally save you $20,000, $30,000. One of the things that we did with our kids is that I committed to them that I would take care of college with some help from them, but I wasn't going to pay for any living expenses.
Yeah.
They were responsible for the pizza money, for the party money, the stuff that they wanted to do, fun time. Yeah. And so all of my kids actually worked part-time jobs through and saved that money for those things.
Yeah, both my boys did the same thing. Worked all summer long, so that they had spending money during the school year, gas money. Whatever
Right.
they needed it,
Yeah.
they had earned it.
Yeah. A little bit tougher nowadays to get summer jobs.
Yeah.
It really is. One of the things I encourage my kids to do, and all kids out there, is to begin early looking for those jobs. Don't wait until 3 weeks before you're done with school. Start in January, be thinking about it. I have a daughter who's worked several years at a camp and really made pretty good money doing that. Hard work. Oh, my word. Hard work for lots of different things you can do there.
Start early.
Well, right now, I'm a senior, John. This fall, I got to start figuring out what school I want to go to. What else I got to do?
Identify your school, get the applications, fill them out. Probably take a visit to those colleges with mom and dad and see which one stands out in your mind.
Wintertime comes.
Mom and dad, fill out the FAFSA, January 1st of the next year.
It's technically due by
March
1st.
1st,
The sooner you get it in, the more money is available,
the better.
the better.
Yeah.
In spring,
Then
hopefully you're there.
Hopefully you have a couple of offers from different schools, and then you might make a visit again, but you make your choice and you choose one and you let them know you're coming.
And away you go.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. In our next segment, I will continue my conversation with Tony Wroblewski, best-selling author, motivational speaker, and personal business coach. Tony and I will continue our conversation on business development and growth. See you then.
With so many questions, isn't it nice to know you can go to one place for the answers? HFG Financial Group has over 40 years combined experience helping singles and families in Southwest Michigan plan their financial future. Whether you're growing, graduating, chasing a lifelong dream, or retiring, stop by our office in Kalamazoo and meet one of our financial advisors today for a free consultation. We can help make you feel confident in your investments. HFG Financial Group, your beacon to a bright future.
Welcome. Today we have Tony Wroblewski, best-selling author, latest book, Mind Capture. Tony, we've been talking about small business nonprofits, marketing, promotion, sales, and giving them some ideas as to what they can do today to increase their business. In your book, in chapter 7, great title, but delve into it a little bit for me. What do you mean by create your own stimulus plan?
There's a lot of talk the last couple of years about bailouts and stimulus plans. And a lot of people say, well, I'm kind of tired of hearing about that. How does it apply to me? Because at the end of the day, I've said in many segments that we've talked about, we're all in the marketing game now. What I mean by create your own stimulus plan is if you are maybe in transition right now trying to find a job, what can you do to upgrade your skills instead of saying, oh, poor me, I can't find a job? Is there a book at the library? Is there a class at the community college? Is there an apprenticeship? Is there a mentorship that you can study and get better at versus waiting around? What I'm very scared, and I look at a lot of different industries as I travel the country, is there seems to be a wait-and-see mentality. We're just going to kind of wait things out. And what top companies, nonprofits, and for-profits are doing is they're not waiting around. They have what I call this healthy sense of paranoia. They're always upgrading, they're always coming up with new products, new combinations. They're trying to improve their relationships with their customers and asking them, what would you like us to offer you? Not forcing things down on them, because in this age of great choice, the customer's smarter than ever. If they don't like it, they say, well, next. They click on, they find someone else that'll give it to them. So what I mean, again, by coming back to your own stimulus plan is, no one's going to do it for you. There's big debates from our Congress down about, well, people need to have this and this and that. At the end of the day, and this may sound controversial, it's up to each of us to turn it around. And if we start to think differently, get more proactive, improve our skills, add more value in the marketplace, serve our customers better, get more referrals, improve the relationships, you will see your opportunities turn around for the better because you're proactive, not reactive. Chapter really drills down There's a little bit more in there about how you set goals. How do you think differently? And everyone's telling you can't do things. I'm a big believer right now that if we only knew how much talent each of us possessed, we'd scare ourselves. But a lot of times we're told, no, you can't do that. The top entrepreneurs I work with think very differently. There's a story in the book. I had the chance to meet Jeff Bezos. He founded a little company called Amazon.com. He's done pretty well.
As a matter of fact, can I interject here?
Yes, go ahead.
This can be purchased off from Amazon.
Why, thank you. That was a nice bridge there. But, Jeff Bezos, I had the chance to meet him in Los Angeles in May of 2008. He was at Book Expo America. I was there to promote my second Mind Capture book. And he gave a keynote, and he rolled out Kindle that day. Kindle now has become almost a household word. It's a new digital book reader. And I'm not a paid endorsement spokesperson for Amazon, by the way, so note that. But he gave a great presentation in Los Angeles, and he said something that struck me, and I talk about it in the book as well, and it ties into your stimulus plan question. He said, folks, sometimes you have to be willing to be misunderstood. What most people don't understand about Amazon, he was turned down by over 60 different bankers and venture capitalists to start Amazon. Go back to 1994 for a second with me. He's presenting maybe in Vancouver, Washington, to a group of bankers that he's going to open a bookstore. And they're like, okay, and then you got the group of investors there and the bankers, like, okay, what's your business plan? Well, I'm going to sell books on the internet. And imagine this room of people stopping and going, what's the internet? 1994, they had no idea what it was. He went on to say, besides the fact that you have to be passionate and sometimes be willing to be misunderstood, is that you've got to be persistent. Okay, he was turned on over 60 times, he said. It's the old story about, for example, Colonel Sanders, KFC. He was turned down over 1,000 times. From every restaurant, he went door to door for years until finally someone invested in his dream. And obviously it's a successful franchise now. But you'll see that in this type of economy, the more persistent you are, almost bullheaded tenacity, and have that confidence, the better off you're going to be. Because people are going to be taken back at first. You may scare them with your confidence, but this is a time where I say you cannot be shy. In marketing, we say you can't be half pregnant.
Yeah.
You can't be. You're either all in and you're passionate, or you just blend in and the marketplace says, why are you relevant? Why should I pay attention to you? Click, someone else will jump in and help them.
Yeah. So, Tony, what do you mean by building authenticity into your marketing?
Authenticity is a very difficult word for most marketers to get. When I do live trainings all over the world, I talk about how each of us, and that includes you watching, has a built-in BS meter when it comes to marketing. If it looks like a heavy-handed sales pitch, it smells too good to be true, it doesn't feel right, like it's like a high-pressure sales pitch, we repel the sales message or the marketing. And what I mean by the authenticity is, how do you prove to a skeptical marketplace where people don't like to be sold? We all like to buy products and services, but most people are very resistant to all the messaging because it keeps increasing 3,000 to 4,000 per day. So what I say is authenticity is this. How are you going to prove it? If you're up against your biggest competitor head to head, what's the prospect going to say to make you be chosen versus being denied? And usually it comes down to what type of authenticity or marketing proof do you have. Let me give you some examples. One of my favorite tools when I work with companies is testimonial marketing. For example, you click around the television spectrum, you'll see an infomercial. Infomercials are a great case study in authenticity. Well, people are going, I don't believe those infomercials. Let me guess how many of you bought something off an infomercial. A lot of people buy it. It's $1 billion industry. Infomercials use what are called testimonials. And if you've ever watched one, Dan, they have people from all walks of life, all ethnicities, backgrounds, big, small, short. And why they do that is they're trying to connect with that person at 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon and say, oh, that's me. And the testimonial is designed to have them say, wait a minute, I don't necessarily believe the company's selling it, but all these people can't be wrong. So authenticity, the most powerful form is testimonial marketing. In addition, I love to use video marketing. Okay? Now we're on television right now, but I teach a lot of companies to prove authenticity at the highest form is to get video testimonials with permission from your clients and share those selectively with other people that want to research you online. Okay? You've heard of YouTube. Okay, yeah, YouTube. A few years ago, most people didn't know what it was. A lot of people go there, and then the numbers are astronomical, how much footage is being uploaded every second of every hour of every day. And people now are expecting to go on YouTube and find video testimonials or reviews from other people. And it's such a huge advantage when I work with a small or mid-sized company or nonprofit when they start incorporating video testimonials in their marketing. To me, it's the highest form of authenticity is a video testimonial. So again, you look at authenticity, it's hard to pull off, but it can be done. And essentially, in the age where you have thousands of competition or competitors lined up on the internet, those that have those little pieces of authenticity have a decided marketing advantage. So,
Thank you. What are the top 3 challenges all marketers face in the digital age?
in my opinion, the big 3 are simply this. How do you stand out and get attention anymore? I call it mind capture. You've got 1 to 2 seconds to pull it off. I don't care if it's a squeeze page on a website, a direct mail piece, an email subject line, a voicemail message that you're playing back. You haven't got much time. You got to capture them. Once you've captured someone's fleeting attention, you got to earn their time. We are all very, very busy people. Okay. Typically, if I do a radio show or a television show on a network, I have 3 to 5 minutes to talk to the reporter, and I've got to communicate in 15-second to 30-second sound bites. And sometimes the reporter's like, that's too much time. So you've got to keep earning their time, and then once you've got the attention, the time, the third challenge is credibility. It goes back to the last question, authenticity. Again, if you say the same things, let me give you cliches that should be banned from marketing. Highest quality, lowest price. Do you think I believe that? Maybe Walmart can pull that off, okay? Because the sheer volume, they're a big, big company. When I hear entrepreneurs or small startups say that, I just cringe. I'm like, why would you want to position yourself that way? Because you know at some point someone's cutting corners, and the marketplace doesn't believe that. So I want people to think, if your marketing is the same as everybody else's in your industry, what can you do very radically different to have people go, wait a minute, that's a different type of company, maybe I'll believe them more. So again, you got to capture them quickly, you've got to keep fighting for their time, and 3, you got to quickly establish credibility because we don't believe most messaging.
Right now, we look out, we see, I've got small business clients, you're speaking to small business owners and nonprofits every day. Let's go and let's try to make this simple. What top 3 things would you suggest they do right now, today?
Okay. I should charge the audience millions for this answer, but I'll do my best.
Trying to figure out how.
We hit on several of these in our last few segments. The first one, bottom line, is what is your commercial? Your personal commercial. Business is done face-to-face, that will not change. The technology keeps changing, radically changing. You look back 5 years ago, Google, most people know what it was. Now it's a household word. But when you meet people each day, do you impress them? Or do they go, well, who is that person? What I'm trying to drive at is, it's the old cliche, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Are you prepared when you meet someone? Chambers of Commerce are a great venue to do this. It's the good old-fashioned networking. There are leads groups. There's groups such as BNI. There's Rotarian groups. There's JCs. And you don't go to those groups such as the nonprofits there to say, here's my card and buy from me. That's the heavy-handed sales pitch that people hate. But when you get to know you better and you build relationships, they'll start to ask you, for example, Dan, so tell me what you do with your business. At that moment in time, that's your chance to shine and market. Most people blow it. For example, I work with lots of insurance professionals. And the insurance professionals, they'll go to a chamber event or a Rotary meeting, and they'll start to get that question asked, and they'll say, well, I work for XYZ Insurance. Have you had a quote on your home and auto policies lately? I can help you save money. What does the person do? Usually they're getting this commercial from, they go, oh no, I'm getting a heavy-handed sales pitch. They grab the insurance person's card, they shake hands, and they run from them because they're scared to death, and it's totally boring. It's the same old, same old. It's different when you make a first impression that is totally different from the industry norms where you just kind of do the same old sales pitch. So how are you going to network and tell your story? What's your commercial, I say? Second thing is referral marketing. Hands down, people have got to do it more. It takes a lot of energy to get a new customer on the books. You've had to fight through I mentioned the attention issue, the time, you've proven your credibility, they've voted with their checkbook, they've spent money with you. At that point, if you're delivering on your promises, you should be asking for introductions. Teach this all over the world. Instead of asking for referrals, ask for introductions. It's less threatening. It's a different form of adjective to describe the same outcome. Here's the good news. Humans at our core are designed to help each other. Proof. You ever get lost driving and you stop at a gas station?
I'm a guy.
Okay, we never admit this, but on television we'll do this. You walk into a gas station and MapQuest lied again, or your TomTom GPS broke, and you got to walk in there with your note, and you ask the clerk, how do I get to Goshen, Indiana? There could be 4 people behind you, and all of a sudden, 4 people, including the clerk, are your best friend. You ever notice that?
Yes, I have.
And they'll like buy a cup of coffee. Well, here's an alternate route. Here's the highway route. And they could be in a hurry, but they all slow down to try to help you. Now, I know that may sound odd, but stay with me. You ask your customers for introductions of people they know, they may say, well, I can't think of anybody right now. But you never know until you ask. And some of your top clients, they'll be like, wait a minute, I'm finally glad that you asked me. Here's 3 people that you definitely need to call right now, Dan or Tony. Give them a call and see if you can help them. Because again, people like to help others. If you do a great job in the marketplace, your nonprofit's a good organization, people like to talk about it. It's called storytelling. So second area is referrals. Third area I tell small business owners to work on is getting your authenticity down. I know we hit on it earlier, but you've got to have proof, or social proof. We call it marketing circles. Maybe it's a video testimonial, maybe it's emails, it's reviews, or it's comments on Facebook about what you do. Save those, because you never know at what point someone's going to be referred to you, or maybe send you an email inquiring about it and says, well, who else have you worked with? Well, I'm glad you asked. And you email them back several comments that you've pulled off of Facebook. Those are public comments. Okay? Or maybe you've got 3 or 4 great reference letters that clients have written for you. You may email that to someone, or if you're at a chamber event, you may hand out or have it in your briefcase. What's funny, you should ask, here's a reference letter. Now, people say, well, does that really work? Absolutely. What someone else says about you in their form of testimonial is 1,000 times more believable than you. Yeah. Let me repeat that if you're watching. A testimonial, what someone else says about you is 1,000 times more believable than you, because we're trained not to trust salespeople. And again, we're all in sales these days. Let me go off point here a second, but I think it's worth noting. I've seen 3 groups show up the last couple years in my audiences that used to shock me at first. Attorneys. That scared me at first. CPAs and ministers. And I would ask them the last couple years on the road, what brought you to like a marketing conference or more of a sales thing through the Chamber of Commerce? And the reaction was pretty much the same, regardless if they were an attorney or CPA or minister. They say, Tony, don't be fooled. We have to market and promote ourselves and our businesses. It was fascinating with a lot of the ministers of different faiths. They say, look, I can pray for marketing help, but I need to have some earthly help as well. They realize that everything is competitive. Now, some people may be shocked by what I'm about to say. Religion is a business. Okay? You have to have money to support the ministry, regardless of your faith, and that requires getting people there and showing up and seeing value to tithe or give back. That's marketing 101. Now, a lot of ministers will say, yeah, that is kind of what we do, okay? But they're passionate about the mission. I'm not judging them, but never be fooled. We're all trying to market our mission.
It's interesting because you talk about churches, and as I walk and talk and speak with people, and you ask them, well, what church are you part of? And you get really 2 different answers. You get some people, well, I attend XYZ church. And that's about the end of the conversation.
Correct.
Then I get something, my church is XYZ. Now there's more conversation.
Correct.
They've connected with the church. There's a relationship there. So thank you for that. Yeah. Folks, thanks Tony for sharing with us. And folks, I'm going to tell you that if you want more information, you need more information. Tony's book, Mind Capture, Amazon.com. You can go to hfgadvisors.com, our website, and we'll have a link to Tony's site there as well. Again, thank you, Tony.
You're welcome, Dan.
A special thanks again to Tony Wroblewski for his thoughts on business planning and building. Stay tuned for continuing my conversation with Tony, as well as covering other financial matters that are concerned to you, such as how to pay for college. Join us next time on Your Financial Pathways.